It's train time, starting now, right after this small intro.
In compliance with COPA, this video is not for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you. Further support provided by miniprints.ca. Make your layout come alive with the 3D creation of miniprints.ca. And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Peter,
what time is it?
it's train time.
It's train time, yes. Episode number 19. Wow.
Wow, this one was a little hard to put together.
Yeah, we were running out of material because of COVID and not getting out, but somehow we managed to get a show together.
I guess now that the restrictions are getting a little looser, we'll probably be out there doing some video and so on. Some for our intro video and some to share with you folks.
Well, yeah, hopefully we can do some of the follow-ups that we were talking about, like at museums and stuff as well.
Well, they got to open,
Yep.
and unfortunately right now they're not. So, without any further ado, last month we had a contest.
Yes.
And the contest was about guessing what that piece was that was made in there.
That's this piece right here in front.
Yeah. So I will take it in my hands because this piece there is a beer line.
Yeah, beer bottling line.
Yeah, beer bottling line in the second floor of a building we'll introduce to you. Matter of fact, is one guy that got it right on as far as what everything in there was.
Yeah.
The beer come in here. It goes into the washer, go through the dryer, come down on the line, go into the filler and capper, back down in the line, and goes to the pasteurizer. Keep on going on the line after it's been pasteurized. And in this portion at the end there, that's where it got labels. And then the conveyor on the front bring them to go into putting in the cases and so on. And a similar one of that is somewhere on the brewery where it does only kegs.
Yeah.
No. It's been built even with the little windows here because it's all under glass so that there's no contamination and that type of thing right till after they went through the pasteurizer. So it's pretty much so what a beer lines will be in a brewery. So,
and in the last video when you mentioned that you even used a squeaky toy is your filler and capper, right?
Matter of fact, that top part in here of the filler and capper is the squeaky toy of my dog, and the bottom is just a round piece of pipes that I had in there that I use. All those pieces in there are all scrap, really, from the scrap box. And just to give an idea, especially to new modeler who want to use their imagination, what you can do with scrap. You know, you can do piloting. You don't have to buy them in a hobby shop. Now, I must congratulate not one winner, but two winners. One of them being Bryant, and the second one being Jason Wood.
Yes.
Now, you two, make sure that you send us via the Facebook group your address so we can send you our beer, not our beer, but our mugs that you can see on the front here. We got some brand new mugs with our logo on it.
Yeah.
And that would be the first 2 mugs that would be going out into the public.
And just give my daughter-in-law a plug here because she's been making doing some experimenting, making the labels for the mugs for us. So
Yeah, she's doing a good job.
so she's done some different trials, and we've come up with this label as being the best one. So
Yep. Now, the cup that you will be receiving for 2 winners there would be the logo is bigger.
Yeah.
So that was the first run, and that's not the one that we will be giving away or that we will be selling.
yeah.
So right now we don't have a price on those mugs, but pretty soon they will be on the website on www.canadianmodelrailroad.ca. In our store, the mugs will be there.
Yes.
So this here goes on the second floor
Of the brewery.
of the brewery. Now here we got the brewery in the front of us that's being built from the stamping plant, the Ford stamping plant
yeah.
kit of Cornerstone. And I kind of cut one side technically quite in 2, but I wanted to keep the 2 towers, one on both ends. And what I didn't use, the other ends, I put it in the middle here. So the back is here, the front is there, and then is one of the side there.
Yeah.
And right underneath of my hands is the fermenting tanks that are there.
The kettles.
Yeah, the kettles are totally scratch built, and they're very detailed. So is the inside of that. The 3rd floor right now, I got the labs to put in, which are still on the design table upstairs in the studio.
And the offices.
And the offices right underneath here. So, as you can see, the whole ducts in there is totally done. This part in here was from the scrap box, but was part of the kit that goes with those tanks. And originally, they were supposed to be with the bakery kits,
Yeah.
Cornerstone. I used those tanks here for all the dry component that go in beer making. This here, well, is the in-between and the mix and that type of thing that happened in this building, and we can see that there's some action in there.
Right.
Now, that building, like any other building on our layout,
Is
is
got
totally light up.
lights. Yeah.
And the name of the brewery is named Reimer Brewery Company,
After a friend of ours.
after a friend of ours and an ex-colleagues at the SMRE.
Selkirk Model Railroad Association.
Yeah,
Yep.
Dave Reimer.
Yes.
So I know, Dave, that you're watching our show on a regular basis. So now you have your imprint on the layout of the CMR.
You have your own brewery.
That's right. And I guess one of our crew member, Murray, always wanted a brewery.
Yeah.
And we told him during the pandemic, because he could not come over, that we were building a special building.
Surprise for him.
And it was a surprise for him. And it so happened that he missed the episode of the contest. He hadn't watched it yet. And he came in last Friday. And we introduce him to the brewery.
Yeah.
So he's pretty happy now.
Yep.
So overall, that specific building was somewhere around 2 months in the making.
Yeah, it was pretty close to that. Yeah.
And it was going by stage. I cannot finish the back in here. I got all the component for it, but I cannot finish the back till I done the
Labs and offices.
labs and office, and after that it would be totally self-contained and placed on the layout, and right beside the big grain elevators and the mills and some other buildings.
All part of the Winnipeg backdrop.
Yes, that is on the CP line. And the Winnipeg part of the layout, which the Winnipeg part of the layout is kind of pretty huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Hopefully we'll be able to start taking some pictures of that backdrop with some trains in front of it.
well, yes, we will. The next step on that area is to do the cloud behind the scenes, and then we'll have to scenic that portion, and then coming back, because this part of the layout is very complicated to do, if you notice, Peter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is many building, because we were producing the city in there, and the placement of those buildings are kind of very specific.
Yep.
You know, so and the building that we putting in there are some very specific building, where I will say that is over 50% of the building that would be in the Winnipeg scene are scratch built.
Yes. Yes.
You know, from photo and studying those buildings and so on and so on. So for any modelers, and even younger modelers, don't be scared.
Yeah.
You know, just do it. It's nothing to it when you really think about it. You start to do it, and as you do it, the idea come in, and
And you can always start small.
yeah,
You don't have to go into a huge complex or anything, but start small.
matter of fact, Peter, if I had the room in here, I will have brought down the small module about the house of my aunt.
Oh, yes.
In the village.
Yes, because you just re-roofed the barn.
No, that is the farm.
That's the farm.
That is the farm where I come from, which is very detailed. That would be built, but in the village, my aunt and my uncle moved there with my cousin, and my cousin kept the house after my aunt was gone, and so I reproduce his house exactly the way it was, place the way it was with the surrounding buildings, you know, and then I shipped the pictures to my cousin, and he just could not believe it, you know. He thought I had took a pictures when I was there.
Yeah.
But we're 1,600 miles apart, so no, I hadn't taken pictures back there at all. It was from memory.
Yeah.
And the farm you implying too, Peter?
Yep.
That is also from memory.
From memory, yeah, and that's something else.
But that farm itself will have and contain somewhere around a dozen mini scene in it, which represent a memory of each one of them.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
great part of model railroading.
absolutely. So that is the brewery. It gives you an idea of what you can do with a kit, right? It doesn't have to be as per instruction. A lot of part in there are from the scrap box, some others on the roof here, and the floors and so on is made by foam boards. And then I got foam boards on the back, The inside is painted so that you can see the interior scene, and some of the window are scratched and so on, but that's just the way it is.
Very good.
I think you had seen on our Facebook a posting about an interview
With Bernard Helen, yes, and miniprints, yes.
And miniprint on that was an interview on TSG Multimedia.
Yes, and if anybody wants to connect to the link, it's on our Facebook group.
Yes, and I encourage you to watch that video, really, because if you're using the miniprints figures, miniprints is a sponsor of us, and in that specific interview, not only that he's talking about the birth of miniprint and how it come about, which is very interesting, how it come about.
Yep.
It's all because of a little beaver.
A little beaver and COVID and
and his business and so on. But it tells you how he make them, and it gives you a good idea of what it is for a modeler to get into the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And the interesting thing that I found, it is a long video.
Yes, it is.
But it's well worth it. Is his idea very similar to the way we think of doing scenes on model railroads, that you add those little quirky things that bring it to life. Like he's got guys digging up skeletons. He started off with the beavers. He built a scene with a beaver lodge, but couldn't get beavers anywhere, so he started making beavers.
And then everybody wanted the beaver.
Yeah, and it's grown for him, but he has that idea of, he wants to create things that make people that are doing model railroading have things to kind of bring their scenes to life and add a little maybe quirkiness or even some humor. He has one that they show, there's the three guys, one has his back to you, he's standing beside the truck, and it's obvious from the scene that they're talking about something.
Oh yeah, and look at a guy named Pendergrass in BC that started to do the scene about Poor Frank.
Poor Frank, yeah.
You know, which it's all mini print figures.
Yeah.
Now he's starting to think about bringing women that work on the railroad, women that are rail fanning, and so on. Yeah. And I think the great thing about Bernard and miniprints do not reproduce the work of others.
No.
Everything that he does is designed by him.
Yep.
And also is made by some suggestions for things that are not made anywhere else.
Yes.
Right? So from his work, you can create some scene like you can believe. He's got birds,
all
kinds of birds.
He's
got all sort of animals. Now he start to have all sort of people. He does, well, he did a woman and a sea-doo.
Yep.
Right? Well, you don't find a woman and a sea-doo anywhere else, right? The idea is not to copy the work of everybody else, and is not also to copy characters that are copyrighted either.
Yeah, it doesn't do Disney things.
Nope, nothing of the sort. So, like we say on the intro, when the show starts and it come into the further sport by miniprints, make your layout come alive. That is the motto, really, of Bernard Helen.
Yes.
So, if you have an hour and 57 minutes to spare, go to our Facebook group Canadian Model Railroad.
Yep.
And
Check out the link.
check out the link, and it's really worth it. You
Yes.
watch it.
Yes. Very interesting.
Especially, Peter, some beginners.
Yes, and there again, it doesn't matter if you're doing, a 4x8 module or a 2x4 module, or a huge layout. There's just all kinds of, and he is getting more into N scale.
Yeah, he's got N scale, he's got HO. Well, the majority are in HO.
Yep.
On the HO, he's got the Club of the Month.
Yes.
He doesn't have it on N scale because it take him a
No.
week just to assemble that. He's also got S scale and O scale
Yep.
that he produced.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of work on itself.
Yeah,
For
check
one
out
man.
check out the link. Check out the interview. It's really interesting. I found it.
What I find interesting
It
also.
clarified a lot of things for me.
Oh yeah, but what I find interesting also, Peter, is when you talk about the super detailing models and layout, what you call getting into the rabbit holes.
Yep.
Well, you and I have been in the rabbit
Yeah,
holes
we've
for a
been-
while.
Yeah, we've been.
And some people will say, and I saw that and I read it in some posts, to the effect that if it's too many detail, it look cluttered. Well, the word is clutter. The whole world is clutters. And to my view, and your view, the more details you got into a layout and scenes,
The more realistic it is.
the more realistic it is, and the more the people have an interest into watching what's happening.
Yeah, especially when you've got little side bits. Like some of the pictures he was showing. There was a little gopher or something off to the side, and there was an eagle up in the tree, and just little things on the sides that bring that whole scene to life. Is
Well, those little detail, they tell you the story, or they make you wonder what exactly is the story there.
yeah.
You
Well,
know, and
he's even got a dog pooping, so
yeah, I got one too.
yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So while folks, after this commercial, that short commercial, would be the photo of the month.
another good segment of Photos of the Month. Lots of variety.
Sure look good.
Yeah. And like we ask, keep sending the photos in. We do have a supply of them, but keep them coming in because they'll show up eventually on the show.
Well, Peter, every time I look at those pictures, when we receive them or when I look at them on the show, I feel inspired.
Yeah. No, it's
You know,
it's like we've asked our viewers to send in comments as well. We use those comments to help us with our program. If you're sending comments in, send photos, whether they're your home layout or club layout or rail fanning that you've been doing. At some point, we'll have them in the show as photos of the month.
well, that's the idea. Is really to inspire others. You know, to show your craft.
Well, to share.
And to share.
Yeah.
We're just two ordinary guy here. We're not professional, right? We're just guy like many others of our viewer, but we always try to do something new and to get inspired. And a lot of those pictures do inspire us, and I hope they inspire you as much.
Yes.
But for somebody that send us pictures that sometimes they kind of wonder, are they good enough? Everything is good enough.
Yes.
You know, because you have to realize that in model railroading, okay, it's organic on the sense that it's very difficult to judge because each person have a different way of interpreting design, interpreting what is imagination or not, and everybody have a different way of interpreting by making a scene.
Yes, and
a story.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be based on prototype.
No, it doesn't.
It can be from your imagination. My home end scale layout is basically from my imagination. There's portions of it that come from my childhood. I mean, it's we've mentioned this before. It's named after Malachi, but it's not modeled specifically Malachi. There's a story behind the Malachi that goes back to our train club, but it's the whole layout is from my imagination, and anybody out there that's doing model railroading, you can do anything from your imagination to modeling prototype.
Matter of fact, the CMR layout, okay, which technically is my layout, but I share it with three of my friends.
With the gang?
With the gang or crew here, which is Peter and Murray and Tony. And I do have scene of my childhood in there. The imagination of the layout itself starts with the concept of going from the East Coast to the West Coast across Canada. And all along in there is scenes that represent memory of our crew, right?
Yep.
And also some imaginary places that technically, if you were going and visiting around there, you probably find some area that look very similar to it. And then you got the history side of it that we have built up in many portion of the layout, which is technically it's not finished, but right now it's coming in short bits that you can see that we talk about and so on. And we don't want to disclose the whole layout at once.
And we also have, and I've done this at home too because of CMR. We have like dedicated scenes in the memory of people that we've known or were family members or just friends. We have memorial scenes done for them type of thing. So there's such a large variety of things that you can do in model railroading that you know.
We have went away, Peter, from the concept of the Gore and the Fitted and the McLaren and the George Silius and so on and so on. We have went away from that because that layout up there is designed according to our imagination, and to matter of fact, some photo in one area of the layout from one guy that posts often in our Facebook group, Lauren Scrafford. Some of these pictures have us inspired to do some of the rocks in the Rockies and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But pictures of some other modelers also, or rail fanners, have inspired us also on how to maybe change a little bit the scene so that it look even more believable.
Yeah.
So we just finished a total refurbishing of all the tracks and so on the layout, and that was the purpose.
Yes.
So, and now, folks, we go to a view from above.
View from above.
And after the view from above, we'll have a very short commercial, and we'll be talking about a garden layout.
Ever wanted to take a nostalgic trip back to the steam era? Through the Window of a Train is the book for you. Or go back into history with The Memory of the Moonlight Specials. Through the Window of a Train for $19.95, or Memory of the Moonlight specials for $21.95, or 4 limited time offers. You can get both books signed for only $39.95 plus shipping. Order now.
Well, folks, as you can see, Georgie's back.
Yes, our set manager.
Yep. She had some COVID holidays.
Mm-hmm.
She's very pleased to be back and tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And whatever. That's a good job. Good job, Georgie. So anyway, in our Facebook group in Canadian Model Railroad, one guy named Jiro Yerimian did post some short video, if you remember, Peter, about him putting sound
On G-scale.
on G-scale locomotives, and he had them run in there, and that's it. That was the video, you know, is that he installed it. But we got a treat this month.
Yeah.
Because Jiro Yerimian has shown us those specific locomotives that he had in the short video. He showed us his train and his garden railroad. So I hope you enjoyed the video of the home garden railroad of Jiro Yerimian. Well, Peter,
Very nice.
well,
Very
that
nice.
was different.
It's funny because just the other day I was watching some videos on some garden railroads G-scale, and it's really something. Some of the stuff that these guys put together in their gardens. Yeah.
Well, I think Jiro put a lot of work into that.
Yeah,
You know, because you see those trains going and so on, and he doesn't seem to have any problem with them.
Yeah.
They're running well,
Yeah.
and the sound is good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, very good.
well, now some people were asking about how-to video.
Hmm.
Well, we got 3 how-to video coming out presently right after this show. They already upload and so on, and they're all into the building of one specific building, which is the Imperial
Casket. Yeah.
In that video, you have techniques about paintings, you have techniques about assembling, you have techniques about modifying,
Frosting windows.
you have technique about frosting windows and how you can use them. You have techniques about how doing electrical. The electrical on that layout is on that specific building is very simple. Reason being is that there's no interior scene.
Right.
Okay. Compare to the brewery here, that totally different animals.
Mhm.
But one of these how-to video that will be coming in the future will show you how to do something that is a little bit more complicated with sequencing lights and that type of thing and so on and so on. It gives you an intro about signage, you know.
Mhm.
It gives you also some portion about weathering
Mhm.
on that videos, and
And that building will be part of the Winnipeg backdrop.
that's the last building of the Winnipeg backdrop before we get into the condominiums.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 video on itself, they are about 20 to 25 minutes each,
Mhm.
right? Now, it took longer than that to build that whole building,
Mm-hmm.
but it being edited in such a way that you got a little bit of everything. You even have some soldering in there in that video. You even also have how to create a mini scenes with it
Yeah.
in there, and how to use part also from the spare box or even from a kit, and make them so that they are there but not necessarily used, right?
Yeah.
So it's all in those videos.
Yep.
So you got 3 of them.
You also have one on the Bank of Montreal that you did.
Yes, and prior to that, one who's already on our channel is the one about the Winnipeg Project Part 1,
Mm-hmm.
which is the building of the actual Bank of Montreal that is there, that was built in 1903.
Yep.
Right? And the soldier on the front on that monument there is a Canadian soldier, and that was a mini print.
Mini prints. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Bernard.
on an S scale.
Yeah. Bernard did that for
Yep.
us. Yeah.
We did the paintings and put it together. Now, that building is not finished by any means as far as weathering is concerned, because that would be weather right on scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is the first building. Since then is another building that been built, which is the Marriott Hotel,
Mhm.
right?
Fairmont.
Fairmont Hotel,
Fairmont Hotel.
which is the other side of the street of the
Mhm.
Bank of Montreal. That one I did not do a video on it, but when we show it as far as the scene of Winnipeg, so you will recognize it if anybody has been in
Yeah.
Winnipeg.
And you've got an interior scene with the check-in desk and
Yes,
the
interior, exterior.
doorman and
Yeah.
limousine service and
Yeah, and also light up sign.
Yep. Yeah.
And the light up sign has been, matter of fact, on the videos that you will look, as far as the Imperial Casket, it's called Imperial Casket Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. In the Part 3, I teach you, or I show you how I do illuminated commercial sign, and give you a few tricks about it. So that been that been pretty good. Like we have told you before, and tell you again, we do use a lot of mini prints.
Yeah.
And
and look for those links on our Facebook group.
yes,
The links will be there.
well, I encourage the people to go and visit the webpage of Bernard, which is www.miniprints.com.
Yeah. Or .ca gets you the same place.
Exactly. And you would be amazed at what you can find in there, So I think we should encourage people to give, to be generous, and to get on board.
Yes. The Transcona Museum. Yes, the shelter for 2747.
Yes, that's a very good
Yeah.
cause, and a very well-deserved cause, because it had so many volunteers that have been working on restoring that locomotives, and they will have to do a little more restoring because it was up outside for quite a few years where people could visit it, but there's a fence around it. They cannot get near.
It was exposed to the weather.
Now with that shelter that they're raising money for, you will be able to have a personal contact with that locomotive and the history of it, all in details, in that specific shelter.
And the importance of it, if you haven't seen it on our previous episodes, it was the first locomotive built in Transcona shops in Winnipeg.
That's right.
And after it, there was a fair number of them. I don't know the exact number, but that was the first one that came off the shops in Transcona. So it's important to our part of the country for sure. It's certainly extremely important to Transcona and their efforts to preserve it and protect it and allow the public to see it and learn the history of railroading in Winnipeg. It's a great cause. So get on board. Look for the Get On Board Transcona Museum and donate. Help them out.
You can even check back on episode 18 where we talk about it.
Yeah, because that has the full video of
yes, and
the shops. Yeah,
some history about that locomotive. 2747 was born in Winnipeg, and now is resting in Winnipeg for everybody to have a touch of the history. So it's a great monument. It's a great dedication. It's a great part of history. Please give to them. It's a due cause. Get aboard.
And when the museum opens more, go and visit the museum too.
That's right. So, Peter, I think that's pretty much so all for this. And we hope that you get something out of it.
Keep sending in your comments and photos.
Yes, we need the comments. Now, for Bryant and for Jason Wood, remember to send us your address. We will try to get in touch with you also via Facebook, so that we can send you your prize. We decided that we had 2 winners. Now, it's unfortunate, but the people that send personal message on Facebook have not been included in the winning. Because we haven't followed the instruction where you had to give your response on the comments below the video.
Mm-hmm.
And you choose to go into the Facebook group, and that was not the rule.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, you've been disqualified. Some of you had the right answer, and some of you didn't.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a brewery, and it was a beer line.
Yep.
Thank you very much, folks, for watching.
Enjoy model railroading.
Yes, and we hope to see you in episode 20.
Yes.
Till then,
Have fun.
happy modeling.